Everybody, today is Monday, January 22nd, 2018. This is MMA Junkie Radio's pre-show, the show before the show. I am Goz, that is Dan Tom, and back in New York, that is Danny. George should be creeping up here any second now.
Why does he have to creep?
I was going to say, like, he doesn't really have a, does he have a strut? I don't know what he has. I don't know what you call that.
Strut? Like, I picture, like, Ric Flair doing his, like, strut.
Woo! You gotta have something.
Are you for or against those woos, by the way, that we often hear in the audiences?
If I were there live, I think it would drive me crazy.
Okay.
But I'm against.
Okay.
It was cute in the beginning. Now it's
I think my least favorite guy is the kick his ass Seabass guy, because that one's just so obvious. Like, come on, man. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But I will say my favorite guy is the guy who watches too much Rogan commentary, and he calls for leg kicks like every time, even when they're on the ground. Like the most inappropriate time, they're calling for leg kicks. Like, you're like, what? They're on the ground right now, dude.
I don't like put him in a body bag more than kick his ass Seabass.
Well, that I think that's the same guy though. I think we're talking about the same guy though, right?
2 minutes.
Yeah, coming out of the same guy's mouth.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but yeah,
that's the.
If we're splitting hairs, you hate that one more. Is that what you're saying?
That or like when girls hit the ground. You know, the guy that makes weird comments.
Oh, the north-south?
Yeah, that guy.
I actually like going to north-south when I'm in side control, so, like, I would thank God I'm not, like, a fighter, because I would just set those guys off every time I fight.
Actually, you know who may bug me more is the guy that eggs that guy on.
Oh, the encourager?
Yeah. And he's, like...
Don't encourage him!
Clapping his hands, like, at the work. Like, he's all into it.
I love that.
That guy will not be joining us today.
We got to ask George who his favorite and least favorite guy in the crowd is at an MMA show.
All right. You look like you're moving fast. What's wrong?
Coming up.
I don't know how, but they found me, Marty. That's what I
think. He's in fast motion right now.
Olivia. Who, George?
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't see him. He's off camera. Tell him to go the same
Remember
speed.
when Kramer was on caffeine when he kept getting coffee?
Yeah.
That's what he looked like when he walked in.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, that was great. That was a great visual. Good call. Keeping the Seinfeld.
Up in 30.
30 minutes? Or 30 seconds?
No, 30.
Stay in front of your...
It's a really long pre-show.
Yep.
30-minute show before the show today. Oh, why did everybody leave? Oh, no, wait. Okay.
Heard everybody.
All right, guys. Coming up at 10. Stand by.
Bam, my Wookiee.
This is your captain speaking. We are making our descent into Las Vegas McCarran Airport. On behalf of our crew, we'd like to thank you for flying MMA Junkie Airlines. Now please fasten your seatbelts and put your tray tables in your upright position, because the descent is going to be a little bit bumpy.
Alright, Junkie Nation, it's time to roll, baby, on MMA Junkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Goz. This is what we doing while we do it, baby. All night long, we rollin'! Yeah!
The MMA Junkie Radio revolution is upon us.
Can you dig it?
There's no escape. No escape. Through the vast frontier of cyberspace and through a sea of stars in outer space.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
We've solidified our combat communications stranglehold.
We are controlling transmission.
With the use of MMA Junkie Radio and SiriusXM satellite radio technology. MMA Junkie Radio. Commence transmission. Live from MMA Junkie Radio HQ in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. Here are your hosts, Gorgeous George and Goz.
It's Monday, January 22nd, excuse me. Live from Sin City, the fight capital of the world. It's the MMA Junkie Radio Show, the only show that matters. I am George. That's Goes. That's Dan. And back east, Danny Otto. What's up, everybody?
What up? What up? What up? What up? What up? What up?
Morning.
Tons of stuff to talk about.
A lot.
Today.
A lot.
Where do we even start?
Good afternoon to you, Danny. Thank you for making your adjustment. We make ours as well. Danny's on the East Coast time zone. He's in New York. So, yeah, like Goes said, UFC 220, it happened. Bellator 192, it happened. And the AFC and NFC Conference Championship games, they happened. So, where do you want to start? Start with the MMA. Either that or we'll give football its quick pass and then just dedicate ourselves to MMA. But I want to start with MMA. I think we sometimes come in and start stun gunning each other and talking about the person that didn't hold the door open or cut us off on the way here, and we lose track. So, the UFC, man, that's where it all starts. Stipe Miocic defended his title against Francis Ngannou. 5 rounds they went. There was no KO. 2 heavy hitters who are known to KO people, not just KO them, but KO them early. They actually went a whole 25 rounds. Now, a lot of you may say, it sucked. I'll give you that pass. I'll give you that pass. Because after the first round, it was more of those mini battles, strategy, heart, determination. And I know the casual fan will go, well, that's not me. I want to see slobber knocker type fights, barn burners. But if you're a true MMA fan, you appreciated that Stipe had to take certain risks when he did, and he had to, calculate when he did and use his wrestling when he did. And he went to the wrestling early, by the way, going to that single leg. But he also threw a couple, big bombs at Francis's face. He basically just chopped down the tree many ways. You know what I mean? And that's what we felt was what could get Stipe the win. He couldn't just go out there and starch him like he did Verdum or Arlovsky. He couldn't do that. It wouldn't have worked out for him. He mixed it up a little bit. And once he immediately grabbed that leg, at least he let Ngannou know, hey, I have a few different tools I can throw at you.
The mini battles that we talk about.
Right. And sure enough, Ngannou comes out in the second round, and he was pretty tired. Now, what Ngannou has, though, is the ability to recover. Because every time he came out, you could just tell those hands were going to move a little bit faster than when he exited the round. And he still had power. Even at his slowest, he still had power. And so in the fourth round, when Stipe, I thought, was, he was running out of gas and energy, and so was Ngannou. I think he thought, I've banked enough rounds. Now it's just a matter of not making a mistake. He probably even thought maybe Ngannou didn't have what it took, and all of a sudden Ngannou gets a hold of him, and of course the people got excited again. They make it to the 5th round, and that was it. There was a lot of stuff that was going up against the cage, and perhaps Herb could have separated them, but I don't know. I don't know that we wouldn't have just returned to that position. Ngannou wasn't offering much in getting up, and Stipe wasn't offering much in really ground and pounding, just when he needed to. And so that's where a lot of people just thought the fight turned ugly. Regardless, I still thought it was a fun fight to watch just because of Ngannou's power at any time. Goes, how do you react?
The thing that stood out for me in that fight was Stipe's discipline. His discipline to his game plan, and like you said, when he did get him down, he wasn't really overwhelming with any ground and pound, but he did just enough that any time the referee came close to maybe separating them, he would advance position or he would land something. He did just enough to kind of get by, and I understand him doing that against a guy like Ngannou. If you ask him though whether or not that's the way he planned it, probably not, right? Who says I'm going to take a bunch of punches and my eye's going to swell up, but I'm going to walk away the winner? That wasn't his game plan. He probably took more damage than he wanted to, but that should be a testament to how tough Francis Ngannou is, and he's definitely not going to go away. He's probably going to go back and make maybe similar adjustments to what we saw with Derek Lewis, right?
Right.
Derek Lewis kind of went through this.
Be able to manage his gas tank.
But Stipe was really tired as well. Did you notice? I was a little surprised how tired he looked at the end of round 1. But, I mean, there's just basically a superhero character in front of him, just throwing. He was dodging left and right. I mean, it almost looked like David and Goliath, but heavyweights.
Right.
But yeah, props to Stipe being able to dig deep, pull that out, and I'm sure that's something he's not looking forward to running again. But I would be shocked if we didn't see it again. Maybe not right away, obviously, but in a couple of years, I think those two paths will cross again.
Right. And Dan Tom?
Yeah, I think this fight just essentially taught us a lot about our expectations, touching on a lot of what Ghost said as far as, or no matter what side you were on, nobody saw it going to decision. Stipe got a bit tired as well, but we've seen him get tired before. It was one of the things I said going in his fights with Junior Dos Santos. I don't think it was as overblown a thing, but what we haven't seen was the wrestling. That was the big question. He answered that, which is what I was looking for. Win, lose, or draw. I wanted to see if Stipe was still able to wrestle and do that. He had some back injuries that caused him to pull out of fights, and we haven't seen his wrestling since then. So that was great to see. I have no issue with the game plan. I thought it was great. I guess what I have issue is with, touching on the expectations is kind of just, I guess, the fallout, which was something I kind of touched on before, where no matter who wins, I was excited for the matchup because I'm a hardcore and, just like many of you, so we love the purity of the sport and all that good stuff, but I saw this fight that no matter who wins, there's going to be a lot of, I told you soing after this matchup, but almost to an unfair extent. And what I mean by that is no matter who won or lost, I felt like neither guy's stock would go down that dramatically. Ngannou loses, which he did. He's still a guy that's young as far as heavyweight years and miles go. He has a lot to offer, and you can't take away anything Stipe has done, even if he were to have lost Saturday night. He's still one of the greatest, and by the way, for what it's worth, I feel the greatest now heavyweight of all time, and you can't take away from him either. And I'm seeing a lot of that, whether it's, Stipe was boring, or Ngannou shouldn't have been in there in the first place. I think those are both very unfair, and I understand that's the way the sport goes, and that's the beauty of these captivating fights, right? That's why we want controversy, we want buys, we want interest. But I just say kind of temper the negative to both guys. I feel that's unfair here.
Yeah. And so you talked about, Stipe slowing down, and he weighed in at 246 and Ngannou weighed in at 263. But we know Ngannou has to cut to get to 263. I imagine that Ngannou safely may have been, if he weighed in at 263, what do you think he'd be hydrated to? Is 276 unreal?
I don't know what he walks around at, but I always say with light heavyweights to heavyweights, a 15 to 20 pound cut is probably an average if they're having a cut. Heavyweight's a little different, right? Because
he didn't seem to have a
you don't know where he's coming from.
But I'm just gonna say, look, if he was 271, he was 25 pounds heavier than Stipe. If he was 276, he was 30 pounds heavier than Stipe. So I think a lot of that was just, for one, the other guy's hitting you hard, and two, it was just all that wrestling up against the fence. So I expected that from Stipe. But I think Stipe had that experience in 5-round fights, and so he knew how to manage his energy across the 5 rounds.
Yeah.
And I think he probably thought at some point he could have maybe submitted Ngannou. Like, if once he got him down, if there could have been any sort of an attempt at a submission, maybe he could have got out of it a little bit earlier. That's something I'd like to see from him going forward, especially against some of them other big cats, that if he gets past a certain point, and he's able to utilize the wrestling, maybe go for some more dominant positions, which I think is something Cain Velasquez, has done, would do. Anyway, so I think that's just why he was exhausted, man. That was just a much bigger man. They're both heavyweights, and, and when they both weighed in or faced off, it looked about like the height was, pretty fair. 6'4", both guys about 6'4", maybe Ngannou 6'5", but that was just an extra 30 pounds, and it was solid. He wasn't sloppy at all. So what's next? Well, we'll get to that in a second. Let's discuss the UFC Light Heavyweight Championship. Daniel Cormier defended against Volkan Ozdemir. And I'll tell you what, Volkan, was fun to watch, because when DC pushed verbally or physically, Volkan was there. And so they got you hyped up, in the sense that a fight that really shouldn't have had much hype, just because he doesn't really have that type of demeanor. DC brought a little bit out of him. So I really like that. And then going in, obviously, they had the fight, but Volkan is awkward, and he kept throwing that hook, that counter left hook, and DC was cognizant of it. DC's takedowns also, Volkan was able to fight off a couple of those. So it was a pretty interesting little chess match there for about 3.5, 4 minutes. But then after that, DC took over, almost finished him in the first, finished him in the second, and that was that. Volkan deserved a spot. Somebody told me via social media he shouldn't have been in there anyway, and I'm thinking, well, who else would you put in? Because Alex is hurt, plus DC's already beaten him. And he beat OSP, Manua, and Sirknikov. I think he gave Sirknikov his first loss.
Yeah, he did.
So, what the fuck? I mean, that's a great 1-2-3 punch. Volkan deserved it. He'll be back. Impressed with him. Just DC's on another level. Dan, what'd you think of the fight?
This one was probably, unlike the heavyweight fight, I think this one was a little bit easier for all of us, I think, to kind of have a read going in on, right? No offense to Volkan. Like you said, he did really good. In fact, granted, my
I think he wobbled DC a couple times.
I think he did.
Touch his chin.
I think he did too, but perhaps if we get into stun guns later, where I was watching, there was a lot of strong narrative being projected, where it was kind of hard to focus, to see how much he was hurt. A lot of people that I was with seemed to have thought DC was about to get knocked out. I don't think it was that serious. Yeah, I don't think it was that serious either.
Maybe not wobbled either. He just got his attention,
Yeah, 100%. But it was that same process. Like I said, I can't help but think this would look like the same dynamic as his Anthony Johnson fight. And I think even the commentators at a certain point said that's what it started resembling. So yeah, great ups to DC. I think it's easy to see who we were rooting for that one, but no disrespect to Volkan. Like, that kid's going to be back again. Unfair to criticize him too heavily. He's super young, and we should be impressed that he was even able to get there that fast.
Yeah, I think that's the performance that you want out of a champion, right? I mean, he won the fight. I think you have to give him his kudos because he won the fight using what he does best, and that's what we always want out of a guy. If you're gambling or if you're just a fan, go to your bread and butter, and he did that. But he also mixed in some striking, and he actually was landing some shots where some people were saying, don't strike with him, don't do it. He's done that time and time again, where he's shown that he's made those type of improvements in his game. And then afterwards, his post-fight speech, I mean, he's becoming one of the kings of these post-fight speeches, where he's really winning over the crowd. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but when he came out, it was a big pop for him. And we weren't seeing that against John Jones. It was the strangest of things, but I think he's finally winning over the fans. I think he's doing a great job of being a model employee, a model hero to kids. This guy's got it all.
I'll tell you what, even Stipe took it up a notch with his post-fight. Happy to be a father. That scores a lot of points with a lot of people, with a lot of fans. And he said, I'm not the most terrifying looking. And I couldn't tell if he was being sarcastic towards Joe. He goes, but I'm the baddest man on the planet. Again, Stipe gives you these quick answers. He's just quick to interject and almost not let you finish your question. And boom, 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 boom. And that's why sometimes it's hard to have a discussion with him. Or anything. But either way, I think he made his case, baddest man on the planet. DC, same thing, being so honest and real about the fact that those losses haunt him with John Jones. He felt like he was fighting for a vacant title. Now, Go said what might be next, and that's the thing I want to concentrate on now, because we're going to move things a little bit faster here. And then we'll get to some calls, too. If you want to chime in, 866-522-2846. What is next? Well, it was laid out pretty good. Actually, on the broadcast, there's no one that stands out for Stipe. You could make an argument for Verdum, who was 2-0 in his last two, to fight, for the title that he lost, to Stipe. And so now Tabora was one of the guys, and the other one was who did he beat?
Walt Harris.
Walt Harris, that's right. So that's the problem, is those names don't really, they're not what catapults you to a title shot. But that wasn't his fault. He was actually subbing in for Mark Hunt to fight Tabora, and he was supposed to fight the Black Beast, but the Black Beast didn't make it to the dance. So he's signing to fight contenders to get back to the title. Again, he's 2-0 in his last two. He did fight that eliminator against Alistair, and that's what put Alistair in the position to fight Ngannou. Ngannou disqualified Alistair from any sort of a tournament that's happening to face the champion. So it could be that Verdum has shaken off the Alistair loss, because that was in the summer, and he's won twice since then. So you could argue that he's number one in the seat. The other name to throw out there, of course, is one we always throw out. It's Cain Velasquez. But we just don't know anything about his health, and nothing leads us to believe that he's ready for a springtime showdown. Like, I'm not hearing March, April, May, anything like that. In fact, I'm hearing the encouragement for DC to go up and fight Stipe. So let's talk about that division. Daniel Cormier. People had a problem with Volkan. Well, who else are you going to make a case for? I believe Shogun does have a 3-fight win streak, believe it or not. And he is a former champion, and that name Shogun does sell tickets and pay-per-views. But he has also been injured. And so now what do you do? Now Teixeira's starting to work his way back in, and DC has not faced Teixeira. Gus is a perfect guy because he had a great knockout of Teixeira early part of last year, but he's injured. So in reality, again, and I know people don't like these money fights, and we want to get away from them, and I even said it myself, I'd like to do it. I feel like there's a few that I could stomach, and that's one of them. Sign me up.
I could stomach
while the other divisions get fat again and build contenders, and maybe a couple guys come off these suspensions, all of a sudden they're back.
It just seems like it's a very big risk, because if Daniel loses that fight, more than likely it's going to be probably a KO or something like that. And I don't know that he's a smart guy. I don't know that he's going to want to keep going if something bad like that happens. You know how much he loves his kids.
Right.
He has a job outside, well, not outside of the UFC, but with the UFC, where he can use commentary. He can use his mouth, his brain, to speak to many people. I don't
he
know
also
that, I don't know
seems
that
to
he wants to
pursue
do something like
legendary status. And on our show, he shut it down. I mean, he told us, I'm not scared to lose, and I'm not scared to get hurt. But he basically said those guys are too big. But why am I hearing that the waters are getting warm when it's being brought up to him behind the scenes? I mean, Dana's kind of encouraging it.
Do you think it's been brought up that much, though? Because let's be honest, and this is probably another topic, they probably didn't want Stipe to win that fight, okay? It's awesome to throw a guy like Ngannou on a poster. It's incredible to show his highlight reel. More than likely, they wanted him to win. So really, was that even talked about that much, do you think?
The possibility of DC moving up?
I don't think it was.
Well, it could be one thing that hinders it is just his friend Cain Velasquez. That's one. Like, why even get involved and interject himself into a title hunt where Cain is a factor the minute he gets back, you know? But Dana did post-fight with Fox, and he's saying, you know, when Cain comes back, DC can give up the title. But he can actually just make a run to become another 2-division champion. I know there's a Strikeforce Grand Prix title that he won, but it wasn't an actual undisputed title. So to win that, it would just kind of put him yet in another category. Hell, I would even argue that it could help the process of erasing the losses to John Jones, which only one of them's on record. You know, because that's something that John Jones has been pitched, and he's declined to go up. You know, no, I'll stick and fight light heavyweights. So Daniel could get one up on him and say, yeah, I'll try that. I'll go back to where I was undefeated and fight this beast, who many are arguing, Dan just said it, I know I'm going to say it if anybody asks, is the greatest heavyweight of all time. I mean, that is like legendary status, and all it takes is one fight. If he gets knocked out, all right, I went out swinging. Yes, there's dangers and all this. I mean, Volkan could have put him out, but if he gets there, wow, I mean, that's quite an accomplishment.
Those are insane credentials he would have.
I know.
Yeah, I think you guys have points, but I wouldn't want to see it because, and I don't think it's going to happen because I think Go's made a good point as far as like you're not going to be talking about it too much, and B, I think it has to be something like a one and done. Like not only if he lost, like Goz was saying, like would he not probably fight again, but I think if he moved up, he wouldn't fight again because he's talked about it before, the size he has to gain. Now, when I go back and watch tape on DC, you see his size go down. Even that first John Jones fight and his first couple fights at light heavyweight, he was much more bulkier. But he's talked about this too. He's had to slim down to now he's looking like the much smaller guy compared to light heavyweights. And we're almost forgetting, like you said, George, he used to fight at heavyweight. And I agree. I think that would give him a lot of stock in that argument, win or lose if he goes up and takes a swing. But
what would he come back for to light heavyweight?
I wouldn't see why. Maybe for Jones, that would be the only reason, right? At that point, right?
It's question. You know, we have to
I
question.
think he likes fighting at heavyweight.
Well, we're gonna have to question what he's doing there. For one, the suspension. We have to wait that out. 2, do we really market a third fight? DC feels like he's 0-2. Mm-hmm. The record shows that he's only 0-1. And does the UFC trust Jones to go, sure, run it again into a title fight? Remember we said that when he comes back, he may have to take a fight to get to DC or whoever the champion may be. Yeah, so I feel like if DC were to go up and build that body up, that's it. That's your body for life, whatever it is. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And the fight career is done. He's also saying he's not fighting into his 40s, and he's 38 now. So he feels like 2018 is his last run of fights.
Big fights, right?
I'd love to see it. Of course, I'm not the one that's getting in there with Stipe. I know that's dangerous, a dangerous task. But I think the Stipe fight's a little bit more of a strategic, dangerous fight, whereas the Ngannou was a dangerous fight, just because Ngannou's only got one way to win, and that's to knock your head off. Yeah. I think Stipe, maybe there could be some wrestling that takes place there. I don't know, man.
I think it's a dangerous fight. I think he knows it's a dangerous fight, so I have to imagine that the UFC, to make it happen, would have to do one of those boatloads of money scenarios. Now, you guys know better.
Well, Dana's into it.
Well, you guys know DC better than me and most, obviously. Do you think that's how he's, kind of wired? Will that sway him, or is it just more of a competition thing for DC, right? And then secondly, it's kind of funny what we're talking about now. Now, if you have a championship or even an interim championship, you're already in super fight talks. And we're not even talking about the fans. We're talking about media, the organization, the UFC brass. Remember before, you had to be like a BJ Penn. You had to be an amazing great with all this clout and record. And B, you had to be like, bothering Dana to the point where he's like, I can't deal with this guy. guy. He wants to fight heavyweights. Fine. Here, fine. You defended your title 3 times, BJ. We'll give you a super fight with GSP. You know, that was the climate then. Now it's just like you have a title. Hey, so you ever how do those championships north or south look? Any of those look good to you? And now it kind of feels like it's like an opposite turn, right?
I think there was a time where he was really motivated by money, but
Okay.
I think he's made a lot of money. I think he's really happy with that, and I think he sees the things that await for him when he retires from fighting. So I don't know that I'm sure it's a factor. I don't think it's as big as it used to be, though.
Okay.
George is right, maybe legacy. But, I mean, shit, if you were to retire today, I mean, that's a great career to sit back on.
Damn
Let
right.
me say this, though. He brought up a good point that I believe I have the answer to. Money.
Okay.
If he knew that Jones was only going to be out a year, which means he's fighting in July,
Okay.
and I think that would work for Daniel. And if he knew the UFC trusted him enough to put him in the main event and the fans could stomach a third fight, because let's face it, we're all kind of worn down from that shit anyway.
Yeah, right.
But, all right, let's just say everyone's in. All the ducks are in a row. That fight does pay more. Him and Jones 3 goes into I mean, if the last one was 800, this one probably goes to a million with all the barking back and forth. I have to believe, right? Seems like every time Jones comes back,
It's got
he
history.
doesn't really lose much.
Yeah.
All right. Him versus Stipe, I think it's probably about a 500,000 pay-per-view. Just taking a guess. I don't know. If Stipe sold 300 on his own, I believe in Dallas with JDS, and he just keeps getting
higher.
Huh?
I think
Okay,
it'd be
maybe higher, but maybe 750.
Mm.
I don't know. So how can that be fixed? The UFC says, well, we will take care. We'll shore up the rest, which I believe they would do because they would know it would be a good fight. They're pushing it. So, yeah, I think he has some leverage right there where he can say, look, man, pay me more with my pay-per-view bonus or just write me a check of $500,000 in addition to whatever I do. And you got yourself a fight. I'm fighting Stipe. Whatever it is that makes him happy, I bet you he'd strongly consider. Because that is a good point. A lot of people, when he wanted to fight Alex, he told us something in private that then I saw him talk about more open. And that's the fact that Alex fight didn't pay that much. Remember he said in Houston, his pay-per-view wasn't that high compared to all the others. Because everybody's like saying, that's the big fight. And he's like, I get the checks. They tell me what I make. And those numbers were right on par with some other ones. So, you know, and so he was more open about it then. You know, so I do believe that he definitely has that business mind as well. Let's take a break. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on SiriusXM Rush 93. It's the MMA Junkie Radio Show, and we're recapping UFC 220, touch on Bellator 192, and, of course, if you're an Eagles or Patriots fan, congratulations. Your teams will meet in Super Bowl 52, and I do believe they just are the best two teams, regardless of the results, regardless of everything that went down yesterday.
They are the stretch marks on the underbelly of the MMA community. But hey, stretch marks are the new tats. They are Gorgeous George and Goes.
SiriusXM Radio is giving our subscribers the chance to win an opportunity to go to Minneapolis, Minnesota for Super Bowl 52. One grand prize winner will receive a trip for two, including airfare, 3 nights hotel stay, and 2 tickets to Super Bowl 52 on February 4th in Minneapolis, Minnesota. If you're a football fan, this is the ultimate prize. No additional purchase is necessary. For official rules and to enter, go to SiriusXM.com/Super Bowl before January 24th, 2018. The NFL entities as defined in the official rules have not offered or sponsored this sweepstakes in any way. So sorry to the Vikings fans and the Jacksonville Jaguar fans. To get to the conference championships is quite an accomplishment, but you know, Viking fans have taken it even further. They just cannot seem to get over that, and you know, get over that hump, and that's what hurts them. It's going to haunt them for a while until they finally do it. And I point back to like Boston. They, ever since that Babe Ruth trade, they just were jinxed for however long, and the Cubs were even longer. And they both were able to shake it. When you do, one day it'll feel great. But for now, what can you do, man?
Careful what you wish for.
Build on next year.
Because as cool as we all thought, let's finally get the Cubbies one. Man, I miss those jokes.
I know, I know. And now on the Jaguar side, they competed. They had a really, really good chance to win the game, man. And it didn't work out. Now, I'm not a sore loser. I'm not a Jaguars guy. I actually am a sore loser, but I won't harp on it. But I'm not a Jaguars guy. But, boy, the Patriots only had the one call against them for 10 yards. The Jaguars had, like, I think 10 calls for 100 yards. And those pass interferences, I don't know. I am a fan of Brady. I'm a fan of Brady dissecting a team, but just 2 big old hand grenades and it gets them 40 yards, you know, on the pass interference. And I don't know. And then the one hit to the head, I still have a problem with that because the guy clearly used his shoulder. The head did hit. Mm-hmm. So I was telling Squid, I go, if you're running in full force and you look, I'll do it right here with Goes' camera. And I'm not even running in full force.
Get him.
But if I'm coming at him like this, look, watch my head. It doesn't take much before my head collides into his.
Yeah.
Right? But as long as I'm showing that the shoulder was what I went in with, I think it's a lot different than when they used to spear each other. They used to call it spearing.
Yeah.
So it's, I don't know, man. You know, in the end, the Jaguars made the mistake of passing 3 times, not making them burn any timeouts. Then the punter came out and shanked it. They basically set it up for the Patriots, but the Patriots did what they always do, and that's capitalize. They're winners. You know what I mean? And in the end, the winner just moves on. Now we'll see if how they compete against the Eagles, because the Eagles, they're putting the doubters wrong, man. They are winning this damn thing without Wentz. Reminds me of the Giants when Phil Simms went down and Hostetler took them. You know, like the last 3 or 4 games, and they won a world title. Their defense is for real. Congrats to both teams, seriously. All right, I left these last week. Who's this? Raise your hand if this is you. We did the 3-team parlays. Miocic, Cormier, and Burgos. I think that's me. So I lost Burgos.
I lost 2 of
mine. This was TJ, so he didn't fill it in. Did he say anything, though? Do you remember what he said?
I think he did say it. I
okay.
don't remember what it was.
You made little marks, right, Goes? On your
that's me.
Miocic, Almeida, Ige. So you went 1 and 2.
That's probably me. I'm 1 and 2 as well.
Dan, Tom, Cormier, Burgos, and Ige. All right.
Don't listen to us, everybody.
Although I will say,
I can't make you guys watch a movie, right? We didn't really shake on that or nothing.
Well,
I still owe
you guys still owe me, but
really?
I'll take it on the chin.
Until we do his.
But can I add though? Both my parlay pieces did hit on the article on MMA Junkie.
Mm-hmm.
So
can I add something then?
Yeah,
you had something?
Ahead,
I went 8 and 2 across both.
Yeah, you did. You were the best of the staff.
Both cards.
That's right.
I'm in the lead. First time ever, I think.
Woo!
Can you add something or?
Yeah, I told a friend other picks and I got those right.
Okay.
Nice.
Let's talk to Brian in Boston. What's up, Brian?
Brian.
Hey, boys.
He owes me on a bet, too.
I owe you a what?
You owe me on a bet, too, but it's all good. Grinds my gears. Go ahead. You're one of my favorites, so please.
You know what? I'll tell you what grinds my gears. I'll give it to you right now.
Yes.
I don't have to tell you that Boston is a very, very active sports town. We've got two stations on the FM dial that do nothing but talk sports. We've got multiple shows on cable, sort of that ESPN Sports Center flavor that do nothing but talk about local sports. I saw very little promotion from the UFC locally for this big event, and I know there was some talk back and forth online about Stipe doesn't promote himself, so don't blame the UFC. The only promotion I saw or heard was Dana White Wednesday morning at 9:20, where the first 10 minutes of it was all Bob Kraft, grab assing. And I'm thinking to myself, it's Wednesday at 9:20, the morning drive. Everybody's already at work. Nobody's hearing this. I didn't see the athletes out. There were Celtics games to be seen at. There was Patriots games to be seen at. Bruins games to be seen at. I didn't see any of the athletes out at the local events. I don't know if that's their fault or if that's the UFC's fault for not getting them tickets. Granted, okay, Francis doesn't have the greatest personality. Stipe doesn't, but Daniel Cormier has got personality for days. That guy can promote a fight. He's honest. He's great to listen to. I don't know what it's like in other cities or towns, but I didn't see any local promotion. And I think at the end of the day, that's hindering the sport. For us hardcores, we're always gonna find it. But for the local person who doesn't realize that the guy who holds the world's record for hitting the hardest is fighting in his own hometown, how is that not promoted 24/7 locally to gain interest?
Good question. I will say this. They had a higher attendance than ever before, and they've had 5 Boston shows. So it could be that they just got lazy. Hey, the tickets are sold. What do we need to do? 2, they had the second highest gate. They barely missed their highest gate by just a little bit, which means the ticket pricing may have gone down a little bit. So it could have just been just them maybe being a little bit lazy, or maybe they went the route of social media, or I don't know. Maybe the money they pour into embeddeds and countdowns is now where they focus their money rather than local shows. I don't know. It's a good question though.
I'd kind of like to know I'd like to know from other junkies like who've had the UFC roll into their town, because Boston's a very educated fight town. We've got the great Rocky Marciano, the great Peter McNeely, who doesn't get enough credit.
The great Peter McNeely.
I remember watching that fight live against Tyson.
Yeah.
He almost killed Tyson. Tyson got saved by the rest.
Dude, him running with the Akitas in that pre-fight video was more exciting than his effort for the Tyson fight.
The only thing in danger in that fight were Tyson's hands.
I know. I was just really surprised that they didn't add any local flavor to it. Granted, the place was sold out, but get out in the community, right?
Yeah, you're right. You're right. You can still add new fans. You can still save 100 tickets and do something good with it. And at the same time, you still want people buying that pay-per-view. Could be a Boston fan that didn't have tickets now buys your pay-per-view. So, yeah, you were there, and we'll take your word for it. I know Perth is already sold out, and that's with Whitaker falling out. They did give us Romero and Rockhold, which is credible. That's a nice step in there. But that could be it, man. They have so many shows to worry about. They put their attention and their resources maybe where they can do it. But Dana loves Boston. He lived there for a while.
Yeah.
They say he's from Boston, but he's actually from Las Vegas. And then he moved to Boston for a few years, and then he came back to Las Vegas.
Right.
So, but he had either a 5-10 year run down there, so he identifies with Boston. His favorite teams are from Boston. His kid to man years, he matured.
Yeah.
As he chose his sporting teams. That's why he's a Patriots fan and a Celtics fan. So you're right. You'd think you'd hear him on more shows than that. But I don't know. I'm not trying to offer excuses or anything, but I will offer excuses in terms of the promotion. Brian, you mentioned something. You said you didn't get into it, but I do want to get into it. But is that the end of your call, or do you have anything else?
I figured it was a good time for one quick
what's the last
Patriots
thing?
comment. There was a lot of controversy about the stitches on Brady's hand. And apparently it was pre-op surgery for him to get a 6th finger added for the final ring, so we put that to rest.
I love it. Good one. All right, man. See ya. All right, talk about promotion. Let's talk about promotion for a second. I chime in from time to time on these Facebook things, and everyone just keeps throwing it out there. They need to promote better. What can they do? I'd like to know, first of all, let's start with Promotion 101. What can you do to promote a fighter, a champion, or a contender? What can you do to promote them better? Start with you.
I I thought that was really interesting comments from what Brian said, and it makes me worry about like what they going forward if they want to go to places like Hawaii. But but as far as that question goes, I guess what would they do? Like I said, I like to stick to that road metaphor. I think that the promotion, they are obligated to provide a road to get to that point, whether it's a title, whether it's stardom, whatever. They need to provide the road. They can't make the fighter walk down it. They can't make the fighter walk down it in a certain way. Okay, that is up to the fighter. That is the fighter's responsibility. But I do not feel that in most cases, arguably many, that we're pointing to and talking about, I'm not necessarily sure they facilitated a fair road for all the fighters. So what I would do just off the top of my head, well, I imagine with more influx on WMING, 2017 was our greatest year. Now we have more entertainment and movie connections, and we've integrated our office with entertainment offices. Well, entertainment goes with the visual and video media. Why don't we get more of these awesome promo packages? Like one of the best promo packages last year, that John Jones versus Daniel Cormier. Remember how awesome that pre-fight thing was? That story. Now you don't always get those stories with every matchup. You can't do that for every main event.
Now, what was part
more,
of the
more
crux of John Jones and Daniel Cormier? Why was it so interesting? Aside from the incredible records they had, the belts they were fighting for, what was the genesis of it all that I guess glued you to it? Or the common fan, the hardcore fan, everybody.
Right. It was telling a story, but if you look at enough of these guys' backgrounds, there's always an angle you can take. Now, they're not all going to be great, and they're not all going to have that running clout like a DC Jones. But even in commercials, forget films. Again, they're working with entertainment. They've got an entertainment company at their back. Even in commercials, this is what they tell you. They go for commercial directors, you need to use this couple-minute slot to tell a story about the product. We need to tell a story, whether we're involving this family and they do something nonchalant or something funny and it ties into the product. This all works toward a story. These people have no idea of their product. We only have a certain amount of time with these people engaging us. We need to get a story across. Again, you do it through promotional trailers. Whether you do the,
I like that.
You leave the long version of the trailer for the pay-per-views. But as you saw with those Ngannou or the DC Jones, they had shorter versions too. You guys saw those like shorter TV spots. Like when you buy the DVD, you go to the extra features. There's trailers and there's TV spots, right? You do the TV spots for these other smaller ones, and you just try to get the story out of there.
Some more commercials on TV, but I just thought of something. You sit through like 10 trailers when you go to a movie. Why can't the UFC create one?
There you
all
go.
the movies that come out in the spring, here are all the fights that are happening within just 2 minutes. You know what I mean? I mean, you're already sitting there. People are sitting there in the movies, or is there a rule that you can only promote other movies?
Well,
like if you buy that,
right.
that time, people go to the movies, people watch TV, people go on radio shows. I like the trailer idea, but the one question that I asked you, the genesis of it all is heat between the two fighters. They despised each other.
Yeah, that helps.
And so people were into it. Yeah. They wanted to rally behind one of the two guys, laugh at the guy that got his ass kicked, and cheer the guy that won, right?
Right.
And so with Miocic, what could they do to promote better? How about you, Goes? Do you have an opinion on this? Or?
Yeah, I said it the other day. I think they should do face-offs.
Face-offs, you're right.
That's
a good one.
It
I like that.
doesn't cost very much money other than maybe flying them in if you're going to film at the Performance Institute or whatever. But just have them sit down, have a John Anik or somebody in the middle, just stir shit up.
Okay, and so what I say is this. The UFC's job isn't necessarily to promote the fighters. They're promoting the UFC. You guys, not you guys.
Right.
People need to get that through their thick heads. They're promoting the card that contains these fighters. Right, and they will try their best to say, Stipe, get out there and do media, and Ngannou do it, whatever. And then it's their job to do as best as they can. Sometimes fans gravitate to someone, sometimes they don't. Sometimes you'll just do it because they're badasses and they have these incredible records like 18-2 with 13 KOs and 6 straight wins, and 4 of them in the first round, and 4 of them are former champions of high-level organizations. Talking about Stipe Miocic, 5 of them, maybe 6 with Ngannou, will probably be a Hall of Famer one day. Getting that out, I get that. But for example, when they do put the embedded, I mean, Stipe's hanging up on his wife. I mean, some stuff's like funny, but some stuff's not. And I don't know what else could he be doing. Who knows? Could they do a better job of capturing better stuff on the embedded? I don't know, but I still think it all points back to the fighter has to have a better representation of themselves than like I really liked it when he met with the other fire guy, and they gave him. I think he gave him a sweatshirt.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
I don't know, man, but I still think it boils down to the fighters just have to do a better job of it themselves, because the UFC's obviously only going to do it when you pop. Here's what happens. When the fights are happening, they got somebody that's back there going, oh, my God, this name's trending. This name's trending. When that happens over and over, the UFC will send a camera crew and go, follow that guy or gal, the one that's trending. Hopefully they're also winning, you know, and if they're selling pay-per-views, if the ratings are up on Fox, if social media, Google alert, whatever, is going through the roof, they rally behind that person. If not, then okay, it may be a longer road, like a GSP or a Stipe, because they may not have that outgoing personality, but they'll eventually get to you. But until they do, then it's up to yourself. Maybe have your own champ camp or whatever to take a page out of Tyron Woodley.
Yeah, that's a good
idea. But I always hear these ideas from people, and no one really wants to share anything other than they just need to promote better. How do they do it? I don't know. I mean, when he won his title versus Verdum, they built a card around him in Cleveland. Hey, let's go to your hometown. And they sold it out, and they did great. So it's not like they don't love Miocic at all. Think about how many champions have yet to fight in their own hometown like that, you know. And that was a great summer for Miocic. But, you know, I think Miocic is just now getting it. I love that he's flaunting the baddest man on the planet and all that. But if he would have done it like a few fights ago, I just think that's where more of that money may have come from, you know, that he's been looking for, and he could get even more of it. I don't know.
I second what you're saying, by the way, and I agree. You know, if the road and the door is there, they have to bump their chest. They have to walk down a certain way if they're going to expect certain things. 100% agree. But let me ask you, you brought the Miocic one. You said you liked his post-fight, and I agree. I think he's the baddest man. He should be pumping his chest, and I did say, you know, he's got a chip on his shoulder, deservedly so. Fighters carry chips on their shoulders anyways, right? If he's going to win, I think that's going to come off. It did, but do you think that hurts him? I mean, again, the guy deserves to do whatever the hell he wants. He is the baddest dude, right? But as far as the being short, like you said, with the thing, you know, the almost, and again, I don't mean it in a criticizing way, but I guess what I'm doing is criticizing, but I feel fairly. Him being very passive-aggressive when they're like, yeah, what do you think? You want to get hit by him? You want to get hit by him? Yeah. You know, he does that. And I've watched his footage. He's done that like since his early days, before he was even talks of before he fought the Gonzagas and the Nelsons. He was kind of like that. So again, that's clearly how he is. No issue. Everybody's built a different way, but for what you're saying, George,
I think sometimes that can hurt him. Sometimes he's charming with it, and he's funny with it, because he'll give you I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
right.
But
it's all happening so fast, you may just move on from it. If they're smart, he wants to go home and hug his dogs and be with his wife. He's expecting a baby. Yeah. And I think they want to build a nursery. I get all that. But you know what? That can wait 1 week. Unless she's due. I don't know. But it didn't sound like it. It didn't sound like she was. Right. It sounded like he was just proclaiming it to the world. So maybe they're at 4 or 5 months. The PR people or whoever, if the UFC's not going to do it, has to get them on Kimmel or any of those shows that'll have the baddest men on the planet. I mean, you have to hire someone that can push this out. Push this out. Do the shows nonstop for the next few days. Proclaim what you're going to say. And you know what? Work with someone. Have that person ask you questions. You know what I mean? And when you want to take it up a notch, flaunt it. I'm the best man on the planet. And when you don't, you want to scale it back, I'm just Johnny Midwest, whatever, then do that. You know what I mean? But prepare yourself for that, because it could be the difference between someone changing the channel or sharing it on Facebook, you know what I mean, or a retweet or something else. I think people are very smart, and they're very choosy with how they want to choose to, if Go says I'll pick you up in 20 minutes, I got 20 minutes to go on Junkie and see if something's popping, or ESPN or USA Today, and if I see a video and I look at my clock, I'm like, I'll watch it, or I won't watch it, or I'll watch it later, and then I forget about it. So people recognize that, and he still can make a turnaround. You know, I think I think beating Ngannou the way he did gained him a lot of fans, but Ngannou has the same amount of Instagram posts as Miocic, and they probably have about the same KO ratio. Maybe not ratio, but amount of KOs. Why is it? One guy's just, a little bit. He just has a little bit more of that it factor.
Look, I like Embedded, but Embedded goes towards the hardcore fan.
True.
Okay. If you're gonna find Embedded, you got to go to hardcore places to get it.
Yes.
What I would do is I would have more of my athletes. If it's World Series time or baseball playoffs, have your guys throwing out the first pitch. Have them piggyback the other sports, because those are the people that are more than likely going to be at home watching sports, who will more than likely go, aside from watching football this weekend, how about we get this big fight? Let those guys know, the people that sit out here, that there's a big fight going on. That's the crowd that I think you need to go
Now,
after.
this frames a bigger question because, yeah, I agree with what George said as far as the fighter side of the equation. I agree with that. But now if we look at the promotional side, which I think that's a great idea, goes. But again, this is what it feels like to me. Now, you guys can share your opinions. It feels like the old school UFC of the Joe Silva, we're building contenders, not champions. You know, our promotional ways, taking care of our own mafia style. You know, reinvesting in the product, and then now we're kind of seeing that more endeavor, that more you hear the Joe Rogan speaking like, oh, Amanda Nunes is just cannon fodder, Ronda Rousey will win this, and you're like, whoa, wait a minute, like it feels like this new regime, they have all the tools that can help them. They have these PR people that I was talking about, like what you were saying, George, as far as like, hey, if that's not your thing, cool, but at least you can make little adjustments and tweaks. They have people, like PR people, that help people with that. Like Go said, these same people facilitate, not only make the decisions like, hey, it would be a good idea to show up at this game, but they will make that happen, buy their tickets, and this, again, they have entertainment people at their back now, right? We're looking for solutions. We have this big entertainment monster, but instead of using all the tools that I just mentioned, very useful tools that will help things you guys just mentioned, instead of using their tools, it feels like they're using more of their opinions, which obviously doesn't really fit because they clearly don't know the fight game. It feels like the Endeavor, they're not bad. I'm sure they're not bad people, and I think they can help a lot. I really do, guys. But it feels like they're using less of their tools and more of their opinions, because these don't feel like UFC opinions. It feels like the UFC would have been a little too smarter in not hedging their bets for a lot of these matchups we've seen in the last year.
What's the name of that Calvin guy? Cater?
Cater, yes.
I love how he cozied up to what the Patriots are doing the next day.
Yeah,
I thought
great.
Rob
Yes,
Font could have done it the fight before him, but he did it. He got the crowd into it. So, you know,
Smart.
maybe appear at the Patriots game next day. I don't know. All right, we got to take this break. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. Stay close. We'll be right back. We'll take some calls. Don't worry about it. We'll get those ones in, and then we'll talk a little bit more about this whole promotional stuff that's been the talk here with Stipe and the UFC.
Yeah, you. Can you please tap that rather large fellow on the shoulder and tell him it's time for more MMA Junkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Goes? Thank you.
Start your day with SiriusXM. Enable the SiriusXM skill on your Amazon device. Then tell Alexa to set an alarm for your favorite channel, and you wake up to the sounds of SiriusXM. With SiriusXM and Alexa, You can get the latest sports news each morning without picking up your phone or turning on the TV. Let's jump on some calls here. We'll talk to Marco in Waco, Texas. What's up, Marco? How you doing?
Marco from Waco, que pasa, vatos locos?
What's up, man?
Vatos locos forever. So let's talk Stipe, man. Stipe, dude, I kept telling everybody, don't disrespect the champ. I didn't like the way they were promoting Ngannou as being this force of nature, blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, you know, Stipe wrestle fucked the shit out of this dude and exposed him a little bit, you know. I'm not saying Ngannou is not good, but he has some things to work on. And Stipe, whoever runs your social media is a genius. The picture of him raising the bell and the greatest of all time, yeah, he's the greatest of all time. No UFC heavyweight champion ever that defended the title 3 times. He's the only one. Nobody, no Kane, no Brock, no Randy Couture can make that claim. So the post-fight was awesome. I like that he have a chip on his shoulder and he's embracing being the best ever. Modelo Especial picked him up to be the spokesperson for that beer. He even threw a little Modelo Especial promo on the post-fight press conference. And he tried to promote himself when the Conor McGregor thing was going on with Mayweather. He was calling Anthony Joshua.
I like that.
Nobody paid attention to him. Yeah, and nobody paid attention to him at the time. Now they're going to start paying attention because the more he screams to the freaking wind and people that start listening, hey, I am the baddest man on the planet, people are going to start paying attention now. Peace out.
See, Marco, you know what he should do is go to that Wilder fight. It's March 3rd. That means he'll miss the one in Vegas, but that's an investment. Cleveland, Ohio.
That's one where you tell the
New York,
UFC, hey,
pay my tickets.
you pay that bill.
Right.
Put me in the front row. I'm the guy that represents your organization. I'm the baddest man on the planet. Let them know that even though they're fighting the baddest man on the planet.
Yeah, he'll walk a red carpet, and they'll ask him, what are you doing here? I just want to see who the second baddest man on the planet is. You know, whatever. That's easy to say, right? I just made that up. And yeah, I mean, so the UFC helps him by footing the bill, but he does have to get out there, you know, and do it. I agree that he's not only the best UFC heavyweight champion ever, I just believe he's the best heavyweight ever. And that passes Fedor, Stipe, and Verdum. He beat Verdum, and Kane's resume is impressive, but Kane also went 5-0 against, or about the same 5 guys, like freaking over 3 years. And Lesnar win was nice, you know, and Fedor, I mean, he had some great wins too. Nogueira and Krokop, can't forget about that. Tim Sylvia, Arlovski, got to give him credit for those. But he had a lot of cupcakes on the schedule. And I just believe now, modern times, just a little bit tougher. You know what I mean? All right, we got to get to the top of the hour here. It's MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. When we come back, we'll start off with Showtime. It's going to be his time. Showtime from Tennessee. It's the MMA Junkie Radio Show. We'll be right back.
Lawrence.
Go. It's the second hour of the MMA Junkie Radio Show. A few more fun facts from UFC 220. 16,015 were in attendance at the TD Garden in Boston, Massachusetts. The total gate was 2.4 million plus another 50. So
you know the story.
2,450,000, I should say, was the gate. The other winners were Calvin Kattar defeating Shane Burgos, gave him his first loss. John Vellante defeated Francimar Barroso, split decision. Rob Font, man, really kicked off the pay-per-view with a vicious KO where made. I mean, these guys really threw hard at each other for like the 7.5 minutes they were in there. It ended in the second round, close to the halfway point. Other winners were Bokniak, Al Hassan, Ortiz, and Arce. I thought Pantoja could have gotten a win, and Cruz controlled it. Let Ortiz sneak out a win. Enrique Barzola defeated Matt Bissett, and Islam Makhachev defeated Gleason Tibau. Nice KO there. The bonuses went to Calvin Kattar and Shane Burgos for Fight of the Night. Performance of the Night went to Daniel Cormier and Abdul Razak Al Hassan. Hey, here's another thing. Did you see when Cormier was doing the interview with Fox? He knew it had come to a conclusion. He goes, hey, I'm going to let you guys close me out. I'm going to go talk to Dana White about the bonuses. That's why I like the hustle on DC. You know, Ken Pavia, who used to manage a lot of fighters before Adiatar bought out his, the stable of fighters that he had. Ken used to catch a lot of grief because he would actually corner fighters. And he told me, he goes, I knew I had nothing to add in terms of strategy. He goes, but I wanted that backdoor access because once the fights were over, I was running to Joe Silva and Sean Shelby and pleading my case for why I thought they should get Fight of the Night. He goes, I know I was a pest, but I was out there fighting for that, or maybe a matchup with someone else that won on the card, this, that, whatever. And he got in some hot water with UFC. I know, like, Dana White did not like him back in the day, but I know that Joe, when he needed to fill in, him and Ken were constantly in communication because Ken had a big stable of fighters, and they almost worked out a thing where it was like, hey, my guy was able to step in and fight, and save a card. We got a guy coming in through Tachi. Can we put it? See what I'm saying? Kind of like scratch my back, that type of thing. So I always appreciated the ones that kind of did that additional hustle, because I'm telling you, if you don't look out for yourself, someone else is going to take your money. You know what I mean? You may be the last one. If Shelby and Mick Maynard and Dana are huddled up and they're talking and they can't decide and someone just gets in your ear, you might go, give it to that guy, man. You know what I mean? It's not like DC needs it more than the others. He's probably one of the more that's well off. But he still went out there and hustled for it. Yeah. And he was out there maybe talking about Stipe or what. I don't know. But I've always enjoyed the hustle that he has.
Even if he didn't really do it, it's pretty funny.
Yeah.
I just do it anyway.
Yeah. All right. Now, we'll get to the calls. We really will. I just told you what happened at UFC 220. I just want an quick reaction from Goes and Dan Tom about Bellator 192, which also went down and had the first quarterfinal from the Bellator Heavyweight Grand Prix, which is pretty much open weight, but Quinton Jackson and Chael Sonnen. Chael Sonnen won via unanimous decision, and also a new world champion in probably their deepest division, welterweight. Roy McDonald defeated Douglas Lima, and it did not look like it could be Roy McDonald's night because Lima was chopping away at his shin, and but McDonald was able to gut it out, man. Great win for him. Great world title for him. Michael Chandler, former champion, getting a win over Goiti Yamaguchi, and he took he got some sweet chin music himself. Henry Pico, Henry Krause also garnering wins that night. We'll start off with you, guys, because you were at a Bellator viewing party.
Yeah, my buddy Ford in Las Vegas threw one of the coolest Bellator viewing parties I'd ever seen.
Big old TV he had.
And very accommodating as a host because he was able to bring down a smaller TV to put the UFC on, so we got to see both cards. I was really happy about that. But entertaining. But remember back in the day, Bellator was just known for them barn burners, right? Those great fights, those great title fights, and we haven't had one of those in a while. And I don't want to put the blame on them completely because some of these matchups are pretty compelling. The Lima fight, McDonald fight, it was fun. It was good. But you just need something that reach out and grab you, and they haven't been able to do that lately.
I would have put Quinton against Fedor. You guys just sock it out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And Mir and Sonnen, you guys grapple it out.
Maybe.
You know, I think that's what I would have done. Easier said now that I'm a Monday morning quarterback with my remote control, my big old belly. But Quinton's right. Why do they give me people that don't let me throw these? You know what I mean? Because that's what makes Quinton exciting. Is he going to knock you out before you can out-strategize him, whether it's out-wrestle him or kick and move, you know, stick and move or whatever?
I hear what he's saying, but, I mean, if I'm Coker, I'd probably fire back. What do you want? I'm going to get a welterweight next time? I mean, I got you a middleweight. Knock that dude out.
True. McDonald Lima, again, that's one of those Stipe and Ngannou fights where the action slowed down, but there was just a lot of little subplots going on, especially that shin.
Oh, yeah.
My God. Rory was getting to the point where he couldn't stand on it. He had to actually turn into a southpaw or just stand there and face him like that Japanese kid that fought Nick Diaz and had his hands up. Kyoji, I forget what his name was.
Yeah.
And Nick just kept popping him straight down the middle. But he still got it out the win because he went to the wrestling, the grappling, and he basically smothered Lima.
Presentation was great, though. Always fun. I love the addition.
They brought out the other fighters.
National anthem, all that stuff. Like I love that they think outside the box.
And I think they actually committed to that date before the UFC. So it's not like you can even say, "What'd you do going up against the UFC?" I think the UFC came in afterwards. Few stars in attendance, but yeah, the decisions, man. There was 4 decisions on the main card. The Pico fight certainly wasn't a decision.
That was a great
one.
But it was a mismatch, you know. So a lot of people kind of expected that. So that's that. Did you catch any Bellator?
Yeah. I was gonna say I had a hard time dual watching it. I don't know if you dual watched it, George.
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah.
I went back and watched it the next day to get a better view. And yeah, I agree with the points you guys said. It has been a while because especially when I do these top 5 lists, I try to give love. I think about Dream or Pride or Bellators or Strikeforce, all the past to present organizations, and it's tough, man. Those classic fights, the Chandler Alvarez, even like the more quieter ones. Like I think Tokoro versus Elsie Davis is one of my fights of like 2 years, favorite fights of like a year or 2 years ago. But even those, it feels like less. But no, I was really into it. Lima McDonald was probably the fight I was excited for most. But what I took away from that fight was Rory's toughness and ability to adjust, because that was the question, like, oh, did the wars change his life? We see surgeries, especially nose surgery, something that's going to get hit a lot. You see fighters do that mental check, and we saw that with his fight with Stephen Thompson, right, where he got hit and he kind of froze up, and then Thompson starts piecing up on him, gets the decision. What were we going to see when he came to Bellator? And I think between these 2 performances, Lima and Daly, I think McDonald's proven that. And as far as Jackson Son, and I'm with you guys, I mean, there's a volatile one to call. I thought it was going to go to a grimy decision either way. Of course, I sided with Jackson just because I thought his takedown defense was still going to be there, but it's so hard to know what you're going to get with Quinton. Whereas Chael looked great, man. He came and did exactly what he needed to do. He fought within his skill set. He applied it smartly. He didn't rush, and he slowly cooked into his game and got comfortable. And Rampage never forced him out of his comfort.
There was one.
I didn't agree with Rampage saying he finally got bitch. What was that?
Rory McDonald. Who's he got a victory over in the UFC?
Tyron Woodley.
That's right.
Yeah. And what did he just do in Bellator?
He won the world title. Beat Douglas.
So what do you say if that happens?
He could arguably be the #1 welterweight. Yeah.
Why not say it?
Yep, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, spot on. I didn't agree with Quinton saying that because I thought Chael threw more than he wrestled in round 1.
Yes.
There was also the side bet of I can take you down.
Yeah.
So, hey, you fell into that, if anything, whether it's true or not, or whether a check will be cashed. And then what Quinton needs to realize is he hit so hard that you'd be a fool to engage for 15 minutes with just hands if you have the wrestling ability, of Chael Sonnen. I thought Chael wrestled enough to gain his respect, or excuse me, struck enough to gain his respect, but he also took a couple shots and he was like, holy shit, I don't want to get hit with that again. So he resorted back to wrestling. I like it when Quinton acknowledges, they shook hands, they embrace, and that's that. But then he threw in the other thing. Now, if he does it just because he stays relevant with that and he just builds up the next fight, then I get it. Maybe it's just a marketing game, but, whatever. I wish he really would. I think 235, 240 would be nice for him. That probably was his walk-around weight when he was a 205er. Hey, we're only asking you to come in at the weight they used to walk around at,
Uh-huh.
Yeah. All right, let's talk to Showtime in Tennessee. What's up, Showtime? How you doing?
Showtime.
Hey, what's going on, fellas?
Not much, and you?
Man, Rampage is a freaking disgrace, man. Dude looked like all he did was training. He had one little video when he was in a bad mood on a fucking bike. That looked like that was the only training he did the whole camp, man. He's basically stealing money right now. I was actually watching 3 events. I was watching Bellator, UFC, and I was watching boxing as well. I had both of my tablets up, my TV, and I was just looking at Bellator, just glancing over them, man. But I wasn't really impressed with the Bellator card, man. It was all right. I mean, on a rating of 1 to 10, I'd give it a 4.8. I wasn't impressed at all. I want to see him get a Pico kid, give him somebody to fight. Now, he's way more advanced than the people he's fighting. I love him, but I want to see him fight somebody. But you guys, y'all got Chandler was very impressive, though. He does, what he do. Shit, he going to grind your ass out, and if you ain't ready, you're going to be in for a long night. And basically, that's what happened. But, man, let's go to this UFC card, man. Damn, man, Burgos killed me, man. Burgos cost me, man, just alone himself cost me about $600.
Oh, man.
Just him, and I don't know why. I mean, I took Almeida, man. I should have knew, man, our guy was going to fight tough at home, but I just thought that might be a bad matchup for him. But, it is what it is, man. I kind of laid off that heavyweight fight because I was just sitting there thinking, man, as tough as Stipe is, man, you basically going to have to take him out of there in a body bag. I mean, that's the only way you're going to get that belt from him. And I really laid off that one, but I was confident with my DC pick, though. I just thought, like you said, it was levels to the game, man, and DC was fucking impressive, man.
Well, look, the one thing that you brought up that I find kind of interesting is Aaron Pico. Because, I mean, yeah, okay, it was a mismatch, but dude's only had 3 fights. Like, how much of a mismatch can it be, right?
Right.
The question is, what are you going to do, Bellator? Look, what direction are you going to take? You have a guy like MVP, who we feel like they've been nursing for like 3 years. We're still waiting to get like a really good quality matchup out of that guy. Are you going to do the same thing with Aaron Pico? Is that what we're looking at? Or is he going to get thrown into the fire here with some of the big names? I don't know. I'd like to see him get thrown in the fire because it seems like that's what he wants.
Yeah. I mean, he's got Olympic level caliber
he's marketable,
wrestling, you know what I mean? Yeah. Speaks very well, confident.
Like, jump on that now.
Yeah. Thanks for the call, Showtime. A few other things. You mentioned the switching back and forth. I had some guy on Twitter that we were talking about this. The problem was at my house we have DirecTV in the middle, right? The reason we have cable is because it's tied in with our internet.
Okay.
So cable, you don't need to pay for additional boxes. You say, give me cable, and every room's already outfitted for cable. Boom! As long as you have a TV, you can wire. You can basically wire in, no problem. So we have the 3 TV setup. The middle one's DirecTV, the other one's are cable. The other reason we have cable is because I don't know if it's the fucking Pac-10 or it's stuff going on with the Dodgers, USC, the Lakers. Some stuff just is not available on DirecTV, and it is on the cable system. And so therefore, we have to have cable for all those reasons. So on the 3 TV setup, we had cable. I couldn't put Bellator because I'd get the 9 o'clock West Coast time.
That's what I'm also.
And it pisses me off that Paramount still won't recognize this and fix this. So I had to basically jump in between DirecTV, the pay-per-view between them and Bellator.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%.
If I really wanted to see Bellator, I would have been better off going to the Bellator viewing party that Goes went to. And luckily, he also provided a small TV for the UFC, but that would have been the ticket. But I was switching back and forth. I had to pause certain things here because I wanted to see everything. I was staying away from my phone. I had parlays alive, so it was a mess. You know, maybe we might set up DirecTV and expand it. But see, how often will that happen? It doesn't happen that often that I think we have to make the adjustment. I just wish they could make a great business decision that's paramount, and that's give us the live West Coast feed.
Please, that's what's been killing me for following along.
So
Bellator, and I'm a hardcore.
So that was the deal there. One other thing I wanted to finish, and then we'll talk to Brandon from Louisville, is another reason why it's important for the fighters to promote themselves is because the UFC is a traveling circus. All their focus was on Boston, right? And Dana White, if you get him on today, he may still react to those fights. He probably will, right? But by tomorrow, Wednesday, he's going Brunson and Jacare too. This fight's gonna be great.
Yeah.
And Andre Fili did his thing out in Poland. He's got a tough bit. Dennis Bermudez. You see what I'm saying? It just churns to that week, and then the following week, does Lyoto Machida have anything less than the tank, or will national champion Eryk Anders from the University of Alabama take him out? He's undefeated, you know. And then after that, we got that Cuban Missile Crisis. Yoel Romero facing Luke Rockhold. The winner gets Robert Whittaker, you know, and then all of a sudden we're at Max and Frank. You see, that's a business that already makes money.
Yeah.
The fighters, their own individual businesses, some make money, some don't. So you got to maximize when you have the chance. And if you're just sitting there waiting, going, "Hey, how come the UFC hasn't called? Like, when are they going to start promoting me? What's the deal?" You're leaving money at the table. It's as simple as that.
It's tough.
All right, let's go to Brandon Louisville. What's up, Brandon?
Hey guys, how's it going today?
Good. How about you?
Doing pretty good. You know, I'm a guy who likes to travel and see some fights, and I've kind of backed away from it. I haven't traveled to a card in a while, but I got to tell you, after what I saw Saturday, I am more pumped than ever. I think I'm going to go to Chicago and see Bellator, because after what I saw Saturday, I'm excited for Bellator once again.
What was it that you liked?
I like the fact that if Jason Ford can prioritize Bellator over the UFC, this must be the top thing to go see, right, guys?
Yeah,
I'm telling you,
that guy made
tournament,
a dramatic turnaround there.
We're going to get excited about that tournament. Little by little, it's going to start to get us.
But what's the next one? Is it Fedor and Matt Mitrione?
Isn't it Mir?
Oh, Mir and Fedor?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, all right.
Bellator has the Jason Ford seal of approval. That's all I saw Saturday night. You know, it's on the big screen. It's got priority. He's walking around in the Bellator T-shirt. I mean, it must be happening for that program. I guess the UFC's dead finally, guys. Right? Bellator's #1 now?
In his book, it looks that way, or at least it was for that night.
So, Bellator lives.
And for those that don't know what we're talking about, Goes, it's on your Instagram, right?
It is on my Instagram.
So, Instagram.com/the Goes. You can see Goes. He's at a Bellator viewing party. They're watching it on the big screen, and this was, you know, heaping and thickness and richness of irony, because the Bellator basher, the greatest Bellator basher of all time, has always been Jason Ford. He was actually the host of the party, so secretly he's been leading this this alternative lifestyle, and
we got him.
Luckily, though, he was, you know, it's not like it turns out he's a UFC hater. He had a small TV for the UFC fans. Continue on, Brandon. Anything else?
Well, Ford has a lot of alternative lifestyles, I'm sure. It was just good to see the Boston guys, you know, coming out in force for this card. All three of them, they went 3-0, I think, on the card.
Yeah.
So who were they? They were Cater, Font, and who's the other guy?
Kyle Bogniak.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. Font needed that win.
Yeah, he did.
For Font to convince us that he's a contender, he needed that win, because the loss to Asuncao
needs consistency,
set him back. But to beat Almeida, that's a great win for him. So, you know, really, really happy for him.
Two solid finishes, and I thought Bogniak pretty much shut out, was it Brandon Davis?
Yeah.
Controlled the fight the whole time. Looked like he didn't have, you know, any problems with him. Davis looked confused as hell out there.
No doubt, my man. All right. Thank you very much for the call. We got to keep going here. Next up is Phil in San Jose. Oh, he hung up?
Phil just dropped.
All
Sorry.
right. Dan in Oregon. What's up, Dan? How you doing?
What up, fellas? Yeah, I went 4 for 4 on my picks that I guys gave you as far as the main events go. It's kind of easy, but Stone Cold Stipe got it done, man. A lot of people were down Stone Cold Stipe.
What were your picks?
Say what?
What were your picks?
Stipe, DC, Chill by Lay and Pray, and Rory McDonald.
Okay.
Rory McDonald came back, though, man. He had some heart. That hematoma was nasty on his leg.
Yeah. And the nose.
You see him go through the Lawler fight and then that fight, man, and you can never doubt that guy. Freaking Dana White threw him to the ground, just like, oh, he's done. He ain't got nothing left. His nose broken. That dude's got heart. Going back, though, you guys were talking about the promoting conversation. I think if you want to know who they're promoting, just look at Body Armor and boom, right there. Like, from what I know, these companies don't pick the people. The UFC picks the people, and boom.
From what you know, where'd you hear this?
Everyone talks, man. Everyone talks. Michelle Waterson had a deal. She had a good record, looked cute, and she had her own documentary out about her that really pushed her, kind of like Connor's own documentary. Cody Garbrandt was undefeated. He was one of them. He's got neck tattoos, though, so that one's kind of weird for someone to pick. Calvillo, she was undefeated. UFC decided to push her. That was Dana's girl. And then Francis Ngannou, his only one loss. He had so many wins in a row, but he.
No, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying you're wrong, but let's say you and Goes and Dan just started a business, whatever it is, whether it's Muscle Milk or the next Gatorade or whatever that drink is, and I'm not familiar with it, and you guys wanted to sponsor fighters, Goes, Dan, and Dan, what would you look for? Like
personality.
Well, yeah, personality, but you can't have someone that's a personality, but he's 0-4 either, right?
Right.
So you're looking for winners. So you're cutting through the criteria. You're looking for personality. How about you, Dan, from Oregon?
A great record.
Great record. Okay, Dan from Hawaii.
Well, since you said Muscle Milk, I pictured Derek Lewis putting on a bunch of funny commercials for that product. So I guess personality is my answer.
So personality, yeah. So the fact that others are not a part of this, a lot of it has to do because the fighter had some personality, or they had a look, or they had potential, and so it could just be that that's who they wanted to go with. I'm sure maybe they called the UFC and probably said who's easy to work with, or who's trending upward. You know what I mean? But I think most companies also just come to their own conclusions, after a while. So why others didn't get maybe that Body Armor contract, I have no idea. One of them was a champion. Calvillo, did she have a loss or was she undefeated? She was undefeated, right?
Yeah.
And then Gana's only got the one loss going into that Stipe Miocic matchup, but he's got the look.
They wanted to be edgy.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't know that right there is where 12 people in a jury go, yeah, you're right. The UFC is guilty of choosing and controlling all that.
I mean, you add this story with the Nate Diaz story that we heard about the commercial, and it leads, to what Stipe is talking about, where they push this guy. And I posted a picture up on Twitter. It was Machine Gun Kelly. He was in the photo, and everyone else around him is just like ejected. No one's happy but him. And you look in the very bottom corner, there's the new owner, Ari Emanuel. And he looks like he's through the moon with joy. I'm just kidding, but that's the little stuff. I think if you're going to pick guys, let's pick some new ones right now. I got Habib time all the way, Darren Till, Ortega. Those are going to be the new people that they start pushing. But the problem with making stars right now is because we're getting such a less quality product, people aren't building up like Tony Ferguson, where you start on the prelims and you work up, and then you're on Fox Sports 1, and then you're on the prelim of UFC, and then you work your way. Like, that's a built UFC star right there. Now they're just pushing guys. We got too many pay-per-views. These guys are only having 150,000 people watch them on a pay-per-view instead of 1 million that they can be watched on live TV. That's how we need to build stars again. They're getting pushed too fast. How about you guys touch on that? And Curtis Millender coming up, 6-0 winning streak. I saw him on LFA, that head kick. I'm watching you against Alves, man, when you come to UFC. Back to you guys, man. I'm out.
All right, see ya. I don't think they'll choose just being on Fox over pay-per-view. Pay-per-view is money, man. That's money for the company. That's a pay-per-view driven.
And the fighter wouldn't want that either.
Yeah.
Business, yeah, exactly. They get a cut from it, especially if they're a champion.
I get where he's coming from, but the reasoning behind it's not gonna.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to say they're selling 150,000 pay-per-views, but the rumors are 340 to 380 for UFC 219. 220 is too early. 2018 had. What did we hear about Max Holloway versus Frankie Edgar or versus Jose Aldo? That card with Alistair.
I'm not sure.
What was that? Okay, I'll have to go back and check that one. I think that was in the 300s as well. But New York was close to $1 million. So you have to actually go to the one in Vegas that fell apart at the last minute with Beast falling off. They couldn't get Max Holloway and Frankie Edgar for that one. Something else happened. I forget what. Kevin Lee and Tony got thrown it together at the last moment. That one sold 150 or 175.
Yeah.
I know the one in Canada didn't do well. That was with Amanda. So you can't just throw that out there either. We got to take a break. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM, Rush 93. Stay close. We'll be right back with ya boy, Eryk Anders.
They pat down TSA agents because they don't know where those people have been, and because they can. They are Gorgeous George and Goes, and this is MMA Junkie Radio.
It's Super Bowl trivia on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Join Christopher Mad Dog Russo all week as the marquee. We'll be giving away 4 trips to the Super Bowl, 2 tickets to the game, hotel accommodations, and an experience to remember for a lifetime. All you have to do is answer 4 Super Bowl trivia questions, and you'll be on your way. Super Bowl trivia starts daily at 3 Eastern on Mad Dog Sports Radio, Sirius XM 82. All right, our first guest of the day, his name is Eryk Anders, your boy. He's going to be traveling to Brazil. He asked for it, and he got it. I love it when fighters take control of their own career, and he will be fighting Lyoto Machida in the headline bout at UFC Fight Night 125. This fight goes down on February 3rd, and again, it's a home game for Lyoto Machida. It's in Belém, Brazil. Your boy joins us now on the hotline. What's up, Eryk? How you doing?
Hey, what's going on, brother?
Not much. All right, so listen. We talked to you when Alabama was out of the championship. We talked to you when Alabama made their way into the championship. You predicted they're going to win it. Now we just want to say congratulations. Your alma mater did it again. Hell, their run might be more impressive than the Patriots.
Yeah. You know, I think that anytime you give Nick Saban that much time to prepare for a team, and he's going to do all right. And, you know, Alabama's very disciplined and was able to take advantage of some Georgia penalties late in the game. And, you know, Georgia blew a coverage there at the end to give Alabama that touchdown at the very end. So, you know, Bama's well-conditioned and well-disciplined. So, you know, that's why they're so tough to beat.
Do you think that you guys have a better run going than the Patriots?
I would say it's different. You know, in college, you have to reload every year. Boom, boom, boom. You got seniors going, you got juniors that are coming out. But Tom Brady's been the quarterback of the Patriots for, you know, forever and a day. So I think it's a little bit tougher to win championships in college just because those guys have 3 or 4 years of eligibility and then they got to go on. But you can keep guys, those key marquee players, and if you have the greatest quarterback and probably the greatest coach of all time there at the same time like the Patriots do, you know, they always seem to find a way to win.
Last question about football, then we'll talk about your fight. When it's football season and you see all these bowl games or playoffs or whatever, do you ever wish, damn, you know, could I have finished out my career differently in football, trying to maybe win a Super Bowl versus the decision you made, which obviously turned out to be a great decision itself. You're 10-0 and you're in the UFC for crying out loud, so it's not like it's a bad decision, but do you ever wonder about football?
No, not at all, because, you know, I left no stone left unturned. You know, I did everything I could to make a career possible out of football, and it just didn't work out. So, you know, one door closed and another one opened up.
Mm-hmm. And, again, you actually asked for this fight versus Lyoto Machida. It all worked out for you. And, you know, I know you'll be traveling to Brazil pretty soon. That's why we had to get, you know, to do this interview a little bit sooner than we usually do it. But what I wanted to ask you was, because it all went down so quickly, like in the past, others have actually prepped for Lyoto for a good, like 12 weeks or, you know, 3-4 months, just because he's such a difficult matchup. Do you feel like you got adequate preparation for such a difficult puzzle to solve like Lyoto Machida is on his feet?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think I'm the one that he needs to prep for. You know, I think that my pressure is what beats Lyoto, not giving him space to, you know, throw all those feints and front kicks and, you know, to explode with that left hand of his. So I think I'm the problem in this fight.
I like it. Eryk Anders, our guest here on MMA Junkie Radio. He's headlining UFC Fight Night 125 in Belém, Brazil on February 3rd. His opponent, Lyoto Machida. Goes, what do you have for your boy, Eryk Anders?
Eryk, it's still relatively a young career that you have here in mixed martial arts. What about the simple things? Like just this morning, I saw your face on that poster, and just seeing your face there next to a legend like Lyoto Machida. What's that like?
Man, you know, this is what I want. You know, this is the next step, the next rung on the ladder in my career. So, you know,
I really don't put a whole bunch of thought and a whole bunch of stock into it. He's just the next guy that I'm fighting. I'm not like all giddy or excited or anything like that. I got to go out there, take care of business, and then try and climb that middleweight ladder.
It's human nature, I think, for us to plan for the future. And I'm not saying you're looking past Lyoto at all, but do you ever think about what you're going to say when you get that mic after the fight? Or the same way you gave us this name, Lyoto Machida, that you want, have you thought about who that next name is?
I know Yoel Romero got that bump up to fighting Australia and left David Branch without an opponent. So, if he's still getting ready and when he wants to fight in Orlando still, I'd be more than happy to oblige him.
I love it, man. Oh, why can't more fighters be like this? They want to fight frequently, and they do the call-out. All right. Dan Tom, what do you have for Eryk Anders?
Man, anytime you ask someone who's facing Machida, you always ask, who you're training with. And sure, no one can represent Machida, but do you at least have a southpaw that can jump in and out? But I looked on your Instagram, Eryk. You're training with Goiti Yamaguchi, who just fought this last weekend, and Steven and Ray Thompson. I mean, two amazing looks and two different but really good karate practitioners right there. How has that training been?
Man, it was good. I think both those guys are younger and more explosive and more fast twitch than Lyoto is at this point in his career. So, I think now that I've been exposed to the speed and the style, that I'll have a lot of success come February 3rd.
Awesome, man, awesome. And speaking of promoting yourself, I got to admit, I'm looking at the Instagram, and you already have, for what it's worth, one of my favorite nicknames with your boy. But it looks like you have some your boy T-shirts there. Can you tell me about those and maybe, where I could pick one up or anybody listening could maybe pick one up?
Yeah, they'll be available online at infinitecbd.com. One of my sponsors put it together. And I think the shirts look great. We got rash guards and hoodies and whatnot. So, they should be ready on Friday to order online. So you can go to infinitecbd.com and place your order there, and they'll have them sent to your house or home or apartment, wherever whatever address you put in there.
Nice plug there. I like it. All right, Eryk, one last thing. Did the fight with Ngannou and Stipe teach you anything at all? And here's what I'm getting at. Ngannou basically went out there and steamrolled everyone, but Miocic probably had double the amount of experience as he did. And, of course, sure enough, in a losing effort, he said, I learned more in this loss to Stipe than all my knockout wins, going 25 minutes, blah, blah, blah. So your career, it's moving fast, man. 10-0. You're headlining versus a legend like Lyoto. You're saying you're willing to throw down against Brunson if he can't get an opponent. Or, excuse me, not Brunson. Who is it? Yeah, Brunson. Branch. So you're moving things along nicely. And I just finished saying that I love hearing that. But at the same time, did the Ngannou fight teach you anything in terms of like, hey, slow down, things will naturally happen? Or do you like moving fast like that?
I like to stay active and fight, guys who are ranked higher than me. So, I think the opportunity's there for that David Branch fight, should he choose to accept that fight. I think the thing with Ngannou, I'm not sure what his amateur career looked like, but I had, 25 amateur fights. So, I was exposed to, okay, I need to work on my jiu-jitsu. I need to work on this with my striking, or my cardio isn't where it needs to be. All that got exposed for me as an amateur. So now as a professional, I know how to train. I know how to diet and, get my nutrition right so that I'm able to sustain for 25 minutes in a fight. So, perhaps he never got that experience as an amateur and certainly hasn't as a pro. And it's definitely an eye-opening experience to go for 25 rounds or 25 minutes.
In closing, the MMA Junkie Radio Show is live from the Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas. I'm staring at the board right now. If I or anyone else wants to bet Eryk Anders and parlay it to the Patriots or the Eagles, what's Eryk Anders' recommendation?
You gotta go with the Pats, man. Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. I'm not sure what their Super Bowl appearance, the Super Bowl win record is, but I'm sure it's high. So I would definitely bet on myself and the Patriots.
It just so happens that the Patriots are with Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. They're 5-2. This is their 8th Super Bowl. They could easily be 7-0, and they could easily be 3 and 4 because the Giants' losses were really, really close losses, but then the meltdown from Atlanta and Seattle not giving the ball to Skittles, that could have been a different story itself. So, but either way, 5 and 2's very formidable.
Yeah, if you want to place that prop bet on the knockout and double your money, that's probably
awesome.
We'll look it up, my man. All right. Hey, good luck with the rest of your camp. Safe travels to Brazil, and good luck on February 3rd at UFC Fight Night 125 versus Lyoto Machida.
I appreciate you guys having me.
All right, take care. We'll see you.
That's how it's done?
He's solid.
Yeah.
He's solid, man. He's a great interview. Love having him. Shout out to Ed Cap for making that one happen. Lyoto, this is it. If Lyoto Machida does not beat Eryk Anders, I just don't know that his days of main eventing a card. I mean, this is special because it's where he's from. He's from the north of Brazil, Belém, Brazil. But after this, I just don't know that he's a headliner or co-headliner.
Or that it's safe, depending on how it ends.
Yeah, it's another thing.
Yeah.
Especially if he gets waxed. I mean, the time off, the KOs, the Weidman fight, I think, started a little bit of that decline, and he was that close to winning a world title. He was really, really competing in that fight, and but Weidman was the better man. Anyway, let's take another break. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on SiriusXM Rush 93. Stay close, and I recommend you do because we have Curtis Millender coming up, and like Dan from Oregon mentioned, he is a recent winner at LF 830. I was there in person. Great head kick KO. The UFC, he was on their radar, and they already booked him for the UFC Fight Night. I think it's 126, February 18th. Got to keep all these things straight. In Austin, Texas, headlined by Donald Cerrone and someone else.
Isn't that
who is it, Dan Tom?
Not our
What's that?
Donald Cerrone. Who's he headlining against? It's not James Vick. It is against the
Yancy
fallen-
Medeiros.
Yeah.
Yancy Medeiros. That's
Hawaii.
right. So
You're gonna look it up.
Huh? I was gonna look it up.
Shame.
I didn't want to. I was gonna look up just because we're going to a commercial. But anyway, I don't even know why the fuck I started talking about this.
Yeah.
Oh, so Curtis Millender is fighting Thiago Alves on that card. The UFC loved his KO. They already promoted him. And Alves, remember where he was supposed to fight recently? And that fight fell out with Brunson. They rebooked him. So in case anyone hasn't been keeping up on Junkie, that's what's going down. All right, you're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on SiriusXM Rush 93. Stay close. We'll be right back.
Z. Up, up, down, down, left, right, BA, start. You told me that code would get rid of them. Yeah, well, they're still here. Okay, but now they know I tried to kill them. Hold on, Mom. Here are George and Goes.
SiriusXM Radio is giving our subscribers a chance to win an opportunity to go to Minneapolis, Minnesota for Super Bowl 52. One grand prize winner will receive a trip for two, including airfare, 3 nights hotel stay, and 2 tickets to Super Bowl 52 on February 4th in Minneapolis, Minnesota. If you're a football fan, this is the ultimate prize. No additional purchase is necessary. For official rules and to enter, go to SiriusXM.com/Super Bowl. Do that before January 24, 2018. The NFL entities, as defined in the official rules, have not offered or sponsored this sweepstakes in any way. All right, our next guest is Curtis Millender. I was there in Costa Mesa when Curtis Millender iced Nick Barnes. He was a head kick KO in the second round at Legacy Fighting Alliance 30. Now, I wasn't the only one watching. Someone at the UFC was watching. We knew he was on the radar, and they immediately turned around and booked him against Thiago Alves at UFC Fight Night 126, and that's coming up here in less than a month on February 18th in Austin, Texas. Joining us now is Curtis Millender. What's up, Curtis? How you doing?
I am great, sir. How you doing?
Great, man. Hey, congratulations, first of all, on an epic KO in Costa Mesa, California. Everyone rose to their feet. They couldn't believe what a beautiful display of technique that was. And then, of course, days later, you're now a member of the Ultimate Fighting Championship.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was actually, I got the call the very next night.
Oh, wow.
Very next day, Saturday. Yeah. I just had to keep it on the hush for a couple of days, which was probably like one of the hardest things to do. But
who was the first person you told?
Got the call. My brothers.
Yeah. And was that one of those? Was that one of the moments where maybe even a tear may have come out of your eye, realizing your dream, or are you one of them tough cats that just took it in stride?
I cried like a baby. I cried a lot. Every time I told somebody, especially like a sponsor, somebody that's been carrying me from the beginning, that like had seen the ups and downs this past 5 years. Every time I told them, I couldn't help it.
Right.
I scared my kids. I was actually with my kids when my coach called me, and so like I'm screaming, yelling in excitement, and scared them to death. So really, first people I told were my boys.
You know, this is a nice transition. So that fight happened on January 12th. You found out on January 13th, and you're fighting on February 18th. In a lot of cases, somebody will have to step in late notice on a week, 10 days, 2-week notice. It's not the most ideal situation, but I think it's pretty adequate because you're not falling out of shape. You were in fight shape because you just fought, and then you get a solid name like Thiago Alves. I mean, really, this is a great script that's been written for you.
Yes, sir. I get to show that, I feel like I should have been there. This was a perfect opportunity to show that I should have been there. I get to go out there, beat up Thiago Alves, and then, everything. The future is bright.
When you were a young dude coming through the sport, do you have any memories of Thiago Alves? Is he a fighter that you watched, maybe even were a fan of it at any point?
Yeah, kind of a fan. I remember him and GSP at UFC 100. But I also remember the fight with him and Carlos Condit, which is probably my favorite Thiago Alves fight because I'm a huge Carlos Condit fan, and now I know exactly what to do against him.
Right. And did you ever imagine that you could be fighting, two guys that were in UFC 100 fighting for a world title, and GSP Alves? Did you ever imagine at that time I could be fighting one of those two guys at some point?
Yeah, I've always wanted to fight GSP just because I'm a huge Matt Hughes fan, so I always wanted to get revenge for him. But yeah, if you weigh 170, I've imagined fighting you.
There you go. All right. Curtis Millender, our guest here on MMA Junkie Radio, coming off a big win at LFA 30 on January 12th. Now he's in the Ultimate Fighting Championship, and he'll be mixing it up with Thiago Alves on February 18th in Austin, Texas at UFC Fight Night 125. Goes, what do you have for Curtis Millender?
Curtis, I know it's difficult to anticipate what your emotions will be like that night, but do you know roughly like where your placement will be in the card? Is it something that you would prefer to get over with sooner than later?
It really doesn't matter to me whether I get to do it first or in the middle of the car. As long as I get to do it, I'll be happy. You know, like you said, it's been a dream of mine for a long time now, and you know, as long as I get to get in there and do it, I don't care where I am in the car.
What was the first thing you had to do physically to kind of figure out where you were as far as your cardio, all that goes? Because George mentioned you just fought, but what did you have to do to just kind of test all that?
Yeah, I just kind of got right back into camp Monday. My strength conditioning coach really pushed me that following Monday, and I was still a little sore from the fight. So, and I still breezed through it. So I knew physically I'm still ready. I'm just putting more icing on top of the cake. So, by the time fight time comes, I'll be on another level.
That's great to hear that your team pushed you really hard to, you know, kind of get that test in there to see how you're responding. But would this be a little bit more of a lighter camp than normal, Curtis? I got to imagine the weight's already down and the turnaround's pretty fast. So is it kind of a less sparring and more technique and study kind of a thing, or how does that go for the next month?
Definitely more just you know, the conditioning and mindset, and not so much sparring. Got a couple guys that, you know, just trying to emulate them as much as possible, but nothing too crazy as far as sparring. You know, I'm already in fight shape, and it's just the look, getting used to the guys coming at me with the leg kicks and all that. So.
Awesome. And now you talked about your training partners and coaches before. Obviously, there's a rich scene there, you know, in California. But now that it's finally here, now that you've gotten the call, has there been any of those conversations with friends or maybe, if I use the word colleagues here, but, you know, people in the gym that have been to the UFC or are in the UFC? Have you had any conversations of, you know, maybe what to expect or any helpful tips as far as that debut performance?
Yeah, definitely. One of my best friends, like a brother of mine, Bobby Green, he was one of the first guys that's in the UFC that I talked to, and he told me, like, now you're in, but that's not the goal. The goal is to stay in. So
it's true.
I don't want to be like a lot of the guys that go 2 and out and just, you know, lose every fight on their contract and, you know, end up right back on the local circuit. You know, I've already felt I already know how that feels because I went through that with Bellator, and, you know, I'm just not going to let that happen again. So
Curtis,
I beat up Thiago, and I'm in for a long time.
You said that if somebody's 170 pounds, if they're a welterweight anywhere, you've already pictured yourself fighting them. So, because you've already pictured fighting Thiago Alves, I'm sure you've already pictured the ending. How does this end?
You know, he's a seasoned veteran, so I've been getting a lot of criticism. One guy told me that head kicks is no technique; it's all luck. So I'm gonna call lead head kick knockout. I'm going to switch it up a little bit. There you go.
What I like about Curtis's head kicks, I don't know if you guys had a chance to watch the fight, is the you know, you're basically throwing out either feints or jabs or even backhands, you know. One of them even looked like the lazy backhand that Chris Weidman throws at Anderson Silva before he actually clips him. You know what I mean? And that little distraction, I know you noticed this earlier. Before you got Nick Barnes, you did like another variation of it and almost caught him then. And then, like, within a minute or so, you caught him again. So I really like that you're basically just using the long limbs and you know, a human being can only have his eyes set on one thing at a time. You know what I mean? So you got a couple things that are working in cohesion before that head kick lands.
Yeah, I like to, you know, cause confusion, cause some chaos, you know, get them thinking about something else, and then there's a foot in the face.
I love it. Well, I look forward to your fight, man. It's been fun following your career through LFA, the regional scene, you know, and now we get to see you in the UFC. So good luck with your camp, and we'll talk to you soon, my man.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
All right, take care, Curtis. Curtis Millender, our final guest here for the day. Follow him on Twitter at CourteousCurtis. He's got Thiago Alves on February 18th at UFC Fight Night 126. So thank you to Eryk, Anders, and Courteous Curtis Millender, our guest today. Got to give myself a pat for booking Millender. And Ed Cap gets another pat for booking Eryk Anders. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll continue talking UFC 220 and touching a little bit more on the promotion side of things. Who's more responsible, the fighter or the promotion? I think we can definitely spend some more time on that. Bellator 192, the Grand Prix underway. They got a new champion. And, of course, Super Bowl, man. We can't get out of it. I know Sammy the Squid will come in here on one day and tell you about all the interesting props that are out there. Also, I want to dedicate this show to Alfonso Rosano, father of a friend of mine who passed away yesterday. May he rest in peace. We are out of here. For Goes and Danny and Dan, I'm George. Have a nice day. Go out there and be champions.